So I'm talking to John Mosetich. Congratulations on your film.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited.
And welcome to Berlin. But like I say, sincerely well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful shows that I've seen here this week. All the filmmakers that has such a great community. I like that you guys have it all set up where after the films are shown that they all can go and congregate and talk about each other's films.
Yeah.
That's always a very nice to meet people from Brazil and from Spain and from all over, just coming into one place. Australia.
Yeah, literally. I mean, we've got. You obviously won't be able to see off camera there, but Claudia's just brought, and I think she's. I can't remember if it's Peru or Ecuador. It's one of South America. And there's literally films from all over the world.
I watched a wonderful piece from the Philippines the other day, and it's really some stunning scene work, going through all the streets.
Is that No Second Take? One was very loads of people there.
No, I didn't see that one.
Oh right,
okay. It's a different one. I don't recall the name of it offhand, but I'll try and remember it.
That's all right. Oh, you're right though. Absolutely, we've got some amazing films. So can you, before we go on to the background of how this came about, can you just give us an idea of what Permanent's about?
Sure. Permanent. I'll start with the background on it because it started off actually as a true story about a person that had stolen money from the police department, who was a police officer. And he was a very nice community member, a person that I know and saw as a very good person, and fell into some difficult times. So it started off as the concept that people aren't always what they seem, but also that even a good person can do bad things. And then it kind of changed itself into the idea that we all know what we need to do to be better, to be a better person, like what things we fail at, what we are not as good at doing as we should be, and they're usually things that we have control over. I always say it's like when you're trying to lose weight and there's a donut sitting in front of you, and you know the one thing you need to not do is eat that donut, and you eat the donut.
Yeah.
So each of the characters in it have some flaw that they are trying to overcome. They all know what their flaws are, and they all try to overcome them. And whether or not they do or not is really kind of as the story goes along. Some do, some don't. Some kind of find happiness in the end. So.
And how did you? I know. Did you say it was based on this is a true story?
It is based on a real police officer that I know that ran into some tough times.
So it's literally out of the blue, you came across a story, and at some point you thought, actually.
Yeah, and actually the gentleman who played Shay Green, who is Benjamin Jones, he and I sat and talked about this situation many years ago.
Yeah. And
we talked about how he wasn't a bad person. He was very, very, I still admire the gentleman greatly, because he's just a really nice, great guy. And seeing he and I, Ben Jones and I, talked about how that could be a script and how that story is one that's not uncommon. And as a matter of fact, as we were filming the first section of the film, there was a police officer that was on detail to watch the streets, and he asked us what was the story about. And we kind of started saying, well, I don't necessarily want to say it's about a cop that got into drinking and gambling, and but that's what I told him, and that he stole money from the police department. And the officer said, sounds about right. And he said, that kind of thing happens all too often. It's a very high-stress job. And, my heart goes out to any police officer that's out there doing what they do.
It is. The same in the UK. It's really high suicide rate and all sorts of things.
It's incredibly demanding and high pressure. And so, unfortunately, that lends itself to drugs, alcohol, and gambling problems and addictions just as well as anybody else. So my heart goes out to them, but they're the first, I think, to admit that they have to deal with their stress in certain ways. And unfortunately, my main character dealt with it in poor ways in the past, and so now he's got to try and figure out how to come to terms with that.
And how do you? The intriguing thing for me when someone says, I don't know if I've ever asked this question actually, when it's based on a true story. When you're sitting down to write a script based on a true story, I don't want to say you embellish, it's the wrong word, but how do you make it? Because I assume there's got to be quite a bit in there that you've added to or removed, but how do you go through the process? Because it must be devilishly difficult. Because this may have happened and you might be thinking, yeah, that's interesting, but perhaps we can add this to this. I mean, how do you? That must be very time consuming.
This is not. I mean, it's when I say. I wouldn't say it's based on a true story. I would say that there was a true story that we developed a story around, and we really kind of tried to boil down what the nut was that, what the true nature of his issue was, and how it manifests itself in other people that have gone through hard, difficult pasts, and how they're dealing with it currently, and where they hope to go in the future. Memphis is one of the young characters that's in the movie who is dealing with a drug problem. And as the story progresses, you kind of find out where that drug problem came from. And if the audience member is paying attention, they kind of go, by the end of the movie, people come up and say, I see, I now understand why she developed that drug problem, which lets you know that, again, she's not a bad person. She has had some things that she hasn't dealt with in a good way. So really, as far as it being a true story, it's based on, very loosely on a true story. So I didn't feel the need to tell his natural, real story. Once we had the concept of a police officer that has had a difficult past, then we extrapolated it out to the other people in different ways.
And was he involved? Or did you ever have to get? So you didn't have to. You didn't ask him. I don't know what's the word is. When I say involved, I mean I suppose for advice.
I honestly don't think he knows that this has any basis on him whatsoever. And honestly, I could probably base this on any one of 100 different police officers that might have run into the same kind of a situation. So it's less about him necessarily, and more about being in that situation.
Right. Okay. And the guy in it, the main one, I suppose I could say the casting for him in particular.
David Dallas,
David, how did that happen? Because that's got to be a tough role to fill, isn't it?
I actually, when I first started writing this, probably the first time I've ever said this, I started writing it for myself.
When you say for yourself, what, for you going
to play the part? For me to play the part,
okay.
And I quickly realized it was much too good of a part for me to play because I couldn't do it justice. So David Dallas is the gentleman who plays part of Derek Forrest, and David Dallas and I actually went to high school together.
Right.
So he and I haven't worked together in years, but I kind of saw David in the writing of it for some reason, and then about halfway through or almost finishing the script, it kind of hit me. I was like, David would be perfect for that role. So I called him and said, he lives in Mississippi. So I said, David, would you like to fly to Boston and be in this film? And he said, I would love to. And
send me the script,
Send me the script. Yeah. Well, he kind of knows me, so I think he trusted me pretty well because we used to go to school every day in his Ford Fairlane and spent many, many hours together. And he acted all through his life. He was an actor in Philadelphia and all around New York. And so I knew it was in good hands with him. I wouldn't have not have done it any justice whatsoever. So.
Well, you think in bringing the part to the table just obviously requires something special. All films do, I guess, but there's something particular about the performance that he could give that he brought to the table.
Yeah, David has a compassion to him that you want to like. David, this might be too much for me to be honest. You want to like David a lot, and I think that character needed people to kind of want to like him, but the character actually is one that is easily not liked at some points. So, so you know, he's trying to go through things, and I did want the audience to have the sense that they were kind of rooting for him a little bit, and at some points too, I think the audience starts not rooting for him and maybe rooting against him in some ways.
Yeah.
So I thought he could bring a lot to that, to the depth of that character.
And with this, I mean, it's quite a serious subject matter, of course. I mean,
it is.
I don't want to say I wasn't there. I have no idea what went on set, but is there a way to keep it? I don't know. It's the question I'm trying to ask. To keep it light, like I suppose, is because I suppose I'm not saying you're there to try and let off Catherine wheels and firecrackers and that, but is there a way to keep it sort of not light-hearted? You understand what I'm trying to get at here?
Sure, yeah. Without telling too much of what actually takes place.
Yeah, because I assume you want to keep a nice, gentle feel on set. I don't know how you work, but to lighten things when you're actually making the film, because I guess it's a long shoot, probably lots of night shots in it. It's a heavy subject matter.
It is, yeah. Honestly, I think a lot of it goes to Ken Willinger was our director of photography, and we had Mark Hutchinson working as assistant director, and part of it is that we've all worked together for a lot of different shoots. We actually have done a lot of work with Scorpio Films with Richard Griffin. He's a director out of Providence, and Joe Poisson as well. And this group knows each other very well. And so when we're introducing an actor, we do try to keep it fairly light. We did some silly things on set, but we are dealing with some really serious subjects.
Stuff, yeah.
For that, I have to give huge credit to those actors that took on those issues, and Erica Derrickson, Marie Blaze, and Anna Rizzo, and I think the female characters kind of took on more of the emotional characters, and they dealt with it beautifully. They all three, I think, somebody said the other day that when they watched the film, they didn't see anybody acting. Actually,
Well, that's a compliment.
And it was a huge compliment to all these, all the actors that portrayed these characters. So usually, I think they just did a really nice job of being able to build themselves up for the scene, and then bring themselves back. And I guess, I mean, I don't necessarily, I'm not the funniest guy in the world, but I think I just let them know how much I appreciated how well they just did and how brilliant what they just did was. We also tried to not have them do horrible scenes too many times because it's incredibly draining.
I had exactly the same conversation with another filmmaker yesterday, and I'd seen his film, and it was kind of similar sort of vein. It's like, I saw some of the things you had to do in this film, and the guy's like a really cool actor, Michael, and I asked him how you deal with that, and he just tried to explain as best he could that you're acting, you just got to not take it to heart, I guess what he was trying to say. But I said to him, I couldn't do it. Well, I've never had anything to do with acting, but I don't think I could do it because I don't know how you can switch it on and off.
Yeah, and I will say actually too, Jim Powers also had, he plays kind of a mob boss in the film. And Jim, first off, is the funniest guy you're going to meet. He's a really great guy, and he's silly all the time. But he had some pretty dark scenes in it as well. And his character had to go through some pretty dark metamorphosis. And Jim's just a fantastic actor. I love watching him work from the first time I worked with him many years ago. And he, though, can go right into the harshness of his character. He plays Harry, and come back out of it unscathed. He seems to be... Yeah,
they seem to go bang in and bang out, don't they?
Yeah, so his character is... I actually kind of felt his character is probably the harshest to play. There's not a lot of people that like his character at the end of the day, and Jim is the nicest of guys. You're not going to find anybody more different from his actual character. So he stops it,
and then suddenly he's not larking about, but he's doing what he does in reality.
So he also helped, I think, in some of the other scenes where he was in the room so he could crack a joke or say something silly.
And is it possible to explain to, this is the benefit of sort of newer filmmakers, and obviously doing what we do is a lot of them, a common, not mistake they make, a common problem that I come across before is they bring a brand new film to, at the beginning of their career, this is a brand new film, say, to our festivals, other festivals, but what they haven't invested in, I don't just mean money, I mean time as well, is the marketing side of it, because clearly, obviously you've been around the block, you know the gig, don't you? I mean, you're here, you're promoted, but at what point do you sit down and go, okay, we're going to make permanent, this is we're going to cast, we've got the, got the storyboards, crew coming in this day, we start shooting. But in that process, where is the marketing thing into how do you plan it right from the beginning? I guess it's all part of the plan, but how do you go about doing that? So really what I'm saying is for the benefit of others, how do you do it?
Well, for this piece, as far as marketing it, I consider this to be more of my art piece. So I wanted to create something that wasn't actually necessarily marketable.
Right.
It doesn't have a Hollywood ending in it.
No.
But it's gotten more traction than I anticipated. So to answer your question bluntly, I didn't think about the marketing of this one.
Don't worry. I'll grab it. Okay. So does that mean that normally, with most other films, you have a plan in place, but this one was a little bit different to that. The way you approached it.
I'll do this first. This I started doing it as a short.
Right.
And because it was a short, I said, okay, I can do some really harsh things and not worry too much about the audience reaction, but work about the crafting of it. And it got great response. It got to a number of festivals, and from there I said, well, I need to then make it the feature film that it was intended to be to start with. And so at this point, it's getting great response. We've won Best Feature Film at the Hudson Valley International Film Festival, and we've gotten the Boston International. We got some awards there, and nominated for a number here. So we've gotten really great
good
response.
reaction, yeah, really good response.
So now's where the marketing to me begins, although it probably should have started 8 months ago or a year, 2 years ago. So at this point, really, it's honestly, we're waiting to see on a couple of other festivals, and we'll take it from there. I haven't done a lot of planning as far as marketing it.
But you would normally, I guess. This is just a...
Yes, I mean, usually you almost start, sometimes the unfortunate part is sometimes you start by thinking, while you're writing a film, what will happen next, or how to make it something that will be marketable.
Yeah.
This one is done more for the love of just creating it.
Right, and what's next? What's coming next? Is there something you don't have to give too much? A lot of times,
the next. First, I'm working a lot right now with a group called Infinite Canvas out of Boston. Jason Walsh is a director there, and we actually do a lot of things with some large corporations and trying to help getting commercial work and things done, which is really a fantastic group. So I'm doing a lot of that right now, but I'm also working on finishing a script, which is going to be, the working title is called Another Tina and Alan Movie, and it's hopefully a love story, and it's about a couple who are trying to make an art movie, and they wind up making...
God, I bet you've got a lot of experience in that.
They try to, and then they wind up having to make a terrible movie in order to pay for it.
Right, okay. Sounds like a bit like The Producers or something.
It sounds a lot. Yeah, it's some people. Yes, except for their attempt to make a terrible movie is to actually make money. As the producers,
rather than being a
it's
tax
the
loss
opposite
or
way
whatever.
around, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, this is obviously a drama, thriller. But do you delve into things like comedies, or is that?
Yes. Well, that would be
that's going to be a comedy. Yeah. Right. Okay.
And it's supposed to be it's supposed to be a romantic. With comedy, it's always supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be a romantic comedy, and also some bit of an action in there as well. But.
And what about the switch up between, I don't know, pure thriller and doing comedy? No particular. I mean, obviously you want to get the lines right. I get that.
Well, I mentioned before Richard Griffin, who does a lot of films it's his company, Scorpio Films, Scorpio Film Releasing, I think. And his movies are always, I don't want to say always, almost always comedic. And so I've kind of, when I work with other directors, I try to steal as much as I can from them. I steal his cast, his crew, all these different things. So again, he's taught me a lot, and working on the timing of the editing with the comedy, I think is something that I will hopefully learn a lot about, and I will definitely be talking to him about all of the tricks that he uses. So,
what's the best part about being a filmmaker?
I would probably put it to say, when I sit in a room alone and write something that I think is going to help an actor, because one of the other parts of writing this was I really wanted for actors to have something that had some meat to it.
Yeah.
In particular, I wanted female actors to have something that wasn't just, the girl on the side of the mobster's arm, which we have that, but clearly if you've seen the film, Gina got a lot more depth to her. She probably has the most depth of all the characters. Anna Rizzo plays Gina and does it, she's stunning as an actress, pulling out all the intricacies of the part.
That's incredibly interesting, because rather than point to something to do with filmmaking per se, actually the technical side, or focus on to say, well, we finished this and this is what happened, it's actually sitting alone writing something. which is a really interesting spin. That's not what I was expecting at all.
Well, I'm sorry to.
No. There's no wrong answer, but it wasn't. It's a great answer.
I think it's part when you are doing that, you realize that you're creating something that can help other people, and also hopefully that an audience member will be able to see it and maybe touch them. And honestly, when you go to watch it or you see it, mind you, I helped Jill Poseidon edited a lot of this, but I also helped with the editing. And when you've seen it 1,000 times over, you get tired of seeing it.
Yeah, of course.
But when you go and see an audience see it and they are touched by it or upset by it or affected by it, then I think you've known you've done your job for the actors, for the crew, for everybody, in just starting and writing it down and hopefully see it to the outcome.
Nice way to finish.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to mention one other thing.
Yeah,
Robert Paul Breen. I just looking at my little card here. I didn't mention Robert Paul Breen, who fell in love with his acting when we first did our audition. He just grabbed us. He plays a priest in this, and he just consumed the role like a madman. He was fantastic. And Aaron Andrade, who is probably one of the best actors in Boston. Sorry to all the other actors in Boston. I love his work. He's in here playing one of the characters in it as well. And Jamie Default. All brilliant actors. I just am honored to work with all of them. From the New England area, these are our De Niro's of that area. So.
And there's me saying thank you for doing it, but I do have another question if you don't mind.
Okay, go for it.
I should have asked you this. So the best part, what's the thing you find hardest about being a filmmaker? I hate finishing on it, it's not a negative, but
easy answer. Funding, getting the funding, because you have gone to all your friends enough times that they see you coming, they close the door, and you know that you have a good project in front of you. And I'm waiting for that day when people are saying, yes, we see that you've done good work in the past and we want to continue to fund that and create more of that. I'm hoping this kind of thing can help with that, because at the end of the day, it's I think some brilliant art that's being made, and all these films that I'm seeing here are stunning work, and it's so nice to see independent film do that, and hopefully helping. I would love. The one hardest part is getting money to make that next feature film, which. So I know Jill Poisson is looking for some money. Get her some money. I know Steve Shea, who's a great director out in Boston. He's looking for different money for different projects. So any help that people can give is always appreciated. And eventually, when I do my next one, I'll be looking for.
When you get to directing episode 9 of Star Wars, we know you've done it.
Oh, then I'll fund everything.
Thanks again, mate.
My pleasure.